Hey guys, Foxdrop here. The other day I was invited to be on a special jungle edition of the TForce podcast. If you guys don't know what that is, it is a podcast. It's the league's biggest podcast, and they teach you how to be a better player, among other things. Now, when I was on the show, we talked about jungle for a whole hour. It was a load of fun. There's loads of educational stuff in there, so I thought I would upload the episode onto YouTube. Now, if you guys want to see some other TForce podcast content, then I'll put a link to their stuff in the description. But I hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. I hope it's as fun for you listening as it was for me to participate in. And I will see you in my next video.
Hey guys, welcome to the TForce podcast. My name is Adam Ponaphobia Cogswell, and I am your host for this evening. Thank you so much if you're a first-time listener for dropping in here. I know you're all willing and ready to listen to Foxdrop, who is sitting here. Say hi, Foxdrop.
Hello, Foxdrop.
Hello, Foxdrop.
Hi, Foxdrop.
Maybe too
party,
literal
buddy.
for this stuff.
No, you haven't met the quad.
Oh, damn! I've got competition.
Yeah, well, how well are you at coming up with puns on the spot?
Puns. Well, I'm not really much of a punny guy, but I'll give it my best.
There you go.
Good you tried.
Step one. That's all it is. The dark side. It's terrible.
Right. Well, I know you were all, anyone listening to the MP3 and all out there in Twitch land, you're ready to listen to Foxdrop talk about the jungle. But before we get there, we have to quickly make an announcement, and that's on Saturday. I don't have the date in front of me because I am terrible. On Saturday the 24th at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Standard Time, 8 p.m. Standard Time, we will be playing the League of Legends Anonymous podcast for this belt right here. Everybody ooh and ah. Look at that. It's going to sit right here on my shoulder. I polish it with the tears of the people we beat last time. And yeah.
Tears are on there.
The tears are already on there. Like, I just dip it in the tears.
Infused. Nice.
But we are playing them on Saturday, a best of 3 to be casted by Badger, who does Battle Arena, and Kargan, who did the last one. They will be casting the best of 3. We will be playing, having fun. The winner of this will get the belt on our TForce network. If you go to our subreddit, there's a belt flare that looks just like this, and the winner gets that belt flare. That's what's up there, since I can't actually send the belt to anybody.
Amazing.
So yes, please join us.
That's high quality, Adam. It's beautiful.
I'll go to carrot on a stick.
Never seen quite a belt like that one.
Yeah, right. 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, twitch.tv/TForce podcast. Now that that's out of the way, Foxdrop is on here. You may know him from YouTube. Foxdrop, say hello. Tell us about you, what you do for those people who might not know you, and let's move forward, man.
Okay, well, hello, you guys. I can see under my foxy face here at Foxdrop Low, so you guys probably can take a guess what my name is. But yeah, I do stuff on YouTube. Mostly to do with jungling. Not always about jungling, mostly educational, but not always educational. We like to mix it up a little bit. That's always the best strategy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm here, talk about jungle, all that kind of stuff, help you guys be better players, all that lovely business. Nothing too fancy, just getting it out there.
And they're cool videos. Like I've been watching them here and there, and I like the way you edit them. Like for the season 5 one, for example, where you talked about the jungle, you throw up the jungle item real quick while you talk about it. You have good video editing on it. So if you haven't seen it, I suggest everybody go check it out on his YouTube channel, Foxdrop. What is it, Foxdrop LOL at the YouTube as well?
Yeah. YouTube.com/FoxdropLOL is the YouTube URL.
So you obviously put videos out that teach people how to play jungle better. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. So more efficiently. Let's talk about right now. I know we've talked about on the podcast, probably the fastest clear time, most efficient clear time, best way to go through there. We'll start out with that right now. If you had somebody that was learning jungle for the very first time, they were trying to jump in, I'm sure you have a video about it. Give me your thoughts. Which way would you go? What route would they go? Well, let's start with the basics and we'll move on to the harder stuff.
All right. So for jungle routes, for beginners especially, you want to take the least riskiest route and the easiest one, and the one which is most universal to each champion, the one which doesn't really need any kind of specific mechanics. So by that I mean, like, for someone like Shaco, who's always a bit of an exception when you're talking about the jungle. You can do very, very precise things, but you have to do them in very, very precise ways, and you probably want to stay away from those if you're new to the jungle. So what I would recommend for beginner routes is you'd want to start at your bot side jungle, because you want to get a good leash from your bot lane, right? Because good leashes means that you can kind of make up for any kind of lack of like clear speeds or sustain that your champion might have, and you don't want to be worrying about that when you're new in the jungle. You don't want to be sitting there thinking, oh, can I take this, can I do this? You just want to go ahead and do it, right? And to make it as easy as possible on yourself, get a leash from your bot lane. So if you are on the blue side, which would be on the left side of the map, starting Krugs can be really good, and then smiting that away, going red buff, and then killing the chickens if you're confident. But chickens are pretty bloody painful, so be careful
Yeah,
with
they
the
definitely
chickens.
are.
Yeah, so if you can get a leash from your top lane, I'd actually recommend doing that over getting a leash from the bot lane, just so you don't have to go anywhere near those chickens at early levels in your first clear. But yeah, so I would just do like mini camp buff, mini camp, getting a leash on your first mini, and then recall in with that gold. You'll have like
There you
four,
go.
500. Get your
It is.
smite up, get smite item upgrade, get your 3 potions, and then you can go and clear your other side of the jungle. Usually that's your top side jungle, and finish that. If you do a full clear, you'll be level 4. Or you can, what I like to do is just to take the red buff and then go and gank. It's kind of like, it's a bit of like a late level 3 because you're not just hitting level 3 and ganking because you get level 3 for first clear. But you're like, get level 3, then you come back into the jungle, kill the red buff, get like 3.5 or 3 1/3 or whatever, and then go and gank, which is kind of, it's not very efficient if you want to go and gank at that level 3 part. But at the same time, it's really unpredictable because the enemies are like, oh, he should already be level 3.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
is he? I guess he's not coming for the level 3 gank. And then boom, there you are, level 3 gank. You come take him, easy flash, easy kill, whatever it is you want to do.
And
So that would be
off,
my recommended beginner route for sure.
throwing off somebody's timing is so huge too, especially when people get in a set groove of when they expect things to come in. So you spoke a second ago about going back after like the second or third camp to get your second jungle item.
Well, first, before we go anywhere, hold that thought. I
Yeah,
want
yeah, yeah.
Foxdrop. He has to. This is what you're gonna start calling them. They are Smitems.
Spiders.
Yep. Smite at him. Smite him.
The
Nice and easy.
worst
So
name.
from now on, we want to make sure that you always call them Smitems.
All right. So I'm a big fan of going back as soon as you can afford a Smitem, as we've been calling them,
you,
which
sir.
I hate calling them that, but it is what it is.
Really? Come on.
Yeah, it's terrible. But I mean, there are some junglers like I play a lot of Olaf out of the jungle right now, just because with Q max, it's really easy to just trudge through the jungle early and not have to go back immediately. When there's a lot of junglers that it's definitely beneficial to go back early. What are situations, in your opinion, on where it would be better to go back immediately and get that Smitem rather than just power through the jungle if you're playing a champion that can do it?
I would say that the longer you're in your jungle without your Smitem, then that's, the more time you're spending clearing that jungle inefficiently. And especially if you think you're going to be like, if you're going to recall at like level 4, say you're going to like full clear that jungle rather than recall in after
Right.
the first 3 camps, then what you got to bear in mind is that's pretty much goodbye double buffs. Like, especially goodbye, like first buff, like that's gone. That's
Right.
completely out the window. But the second buff, which is mostly if you're going to start well, it depends where you start, but I like to get my red buff second so that I'm not, wasting it clearing the jungle.
with it,
Instead,
yeah.
so I can go kill people with it. And wasting that early, depending who you're playing, is bad. But if you're like Fiddlesticks, for example, is a champion who can just never ever
right.
leave the jungle, right? And you don't really need red buff on him. Although red buff is still underrated on Fiddle. You just throw your blood. I don't even know what he throws at people. What does he do?
It's
when
like
he basically
it's
attacks?
like
I
a
don't know.
weird
A magic swirl from his scythe.
Yeah, there you
it's
go.
like
Magic
a wind
swirl.
thing or something. I
When
don't
you
know.
win magic swirl thingy them in the face and it tags them with red buff,
Yeah.
that can be really easy to, if you do that and then you drain, you can get a few extra ticks of your drain off before they run out of your drain range. But still, that's kind of a separate thing. It's not really a big point. But yeah, if you're full clearing with those double buffs, it's kind of, for me, it's kind of iffy, but it can work if you just go back and then you buy your smite and maybe like something else as well, like perhaps a longsword with it or some boots or
Right.
whatever you want to buy. And if you can make use of the fact that you're going to be out there on the jungle, on the rift with that extra, 300 item, 300 gold, sorry, extra worth of item, and you can take advantage of that and make use of that, then it can work in your favor, definitely. But yeah, I would, for the most part, I'm not a huge fan of it myself.
No,
Yeah.
we were talking about Smitems earlier this podcast. I kind of want to move into it to have like a full podcast discussion with you here, what you think about it. I know Chira, he's a big proponent right now of starting Rangers going back or buying Rangers on your first buy, unless you're going to gank early, I suppose, and you want that chilling smite. But buying Rangers, clearing your jungle at least once, going back, selling it, getting that stalkers or without enchanting, and now you have chilling smite. Or you could go poachers if you're like Udyr and you're heavy counter juggling. But as long as you're not upgrading it, you can sell those without consequence. Have you tried any of that?
Well, first things first, just picking up on something you said, Poacher's Knife. Okay, this is my personal opinion, but stay the hell away from that item. That item is just, I seriously, like, it's kind of funny because I think thematically, it's the item which is, in my opinion, makes the most sense because it's, you want to do something, here's an item that lets you do it. Yes, there's downsides to not doing it, but yes, there's upsides for doing it. And that's kind of, in theory, that's kind of how the jungle items, in my opinion, should work. But in practice, it's terrible because firstly, the advantage you get from counter jungling is just not good enough.
It's
like
minute now.
Yeah, it's compared. Yeah, it's really not worth it. And then when you consider the fact that anytime you're not counter jungling, you just have this like awful smite sitting in your inventory, and you don't get any benefit from it. And then when you like even the mind game like disadvantage where you buy a poacher's knife, the enemy sees that, it's like, oh, I guess this guy wants to counter jungle me a little bit. Completely gives your game away. So, but anyway, that's kind of not really the question you asked. I just wanted to.
Oh no, you know what? That's the best thing about this podcast is we'll go anywhere. So if we want to talk different Smitems, let's do it.
The only time I've ever seen success with Poacher's Knife was when we were playing a game and I had picked it up just to try the new one, and the enemy didn't react to me at all when I was in their jungle, and it was like, it was some off kilter pick that was a really weak jungler. And I just sat in the enemy jungle the entire game and just had 3 smites whenever I felt like it. I would run back and forth between the middle turrets, and they wouldn't punish me for it. So, like, you can't get away with that at higher level play because people would just react and murder you. And if, like, you can only realistically, if a buff's not up, smite 2 camps on one side of the jungle. So there's not even that great of a need for that 3rd smite if you're going to be utilizing it in the enemy jungle. The other thing is, it's like chilling smite's so good. The thing I hate the most right now about the way that they've changed the jungling items is now that you can switch back and forth between from a poacher's to a ranger's or a ranger's to a stalker's blade or anything like that, is that now it makes the choice really brain dead because you can pick whatever you want early and then you're not punished if you make a poor decision. You can just, no matter what, like, defer to getting that stalkers if you're planning on team fighting so that you have something extra to add to, like, a little bit of extra utility to add to a team fight or to a gank or something like that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Dragon has a moment up, you haven't enchanted yet, you can go back, sell your rangers, sell whatever you have, and pick up a stalker so you have a smite.
So what's the ideal strategy then with this? Is it do your first couple camps, get your gold for your Smitem, go back, grab your Ranger's Trailblazer, do another full clear, and then go back again and swap it out?
I like doing that unless you're playing somebody that's like Jarvan or something who's just going to go out and gank like crazy anyway.
Right after you go back, yeah.
Yeah, then Stalkers is awesome because Chilling Smite makes your life so much easier. But
okay.
I don't know. I'll defer to Foxdrop.
I've never done that. Was this added recently where you can just swap it out with no consequence?
Yeah, last patch.
Oh, because I haven't tried that. I didn't even know.
Fox, have you tried any of those? Tried the strategy?
See, the thing, the swapping thing for me is, I'm still in two minds about it because whereas what you said about it is true, it's more of it kind of is more brain dead that it's the benefit of getting Rangers early
for making a bad decision.
You're not. There isn't that, but at the same time, I'm not entirely 100% convinced. Not just yet. Anyway, I may change my mind about this. I haven't tried it out enough, but I'm not even sure if that's necessarily a bad thing. Just because, in my opinion, well, firstly, I tend to play a lot of junglers, which I just buy stalkers on early anyway, like leashing, Jarvan, and whatever, and I run through the enemy and just take them down. But yeah, for the new jungle, what I like to do was just to play random, like back in the day, I like to play random stuff and just do what I wanted to do and just have fun and just like Lissandra jungle was one of my favorites because she was just so fun. I don't know, I just love playing her. But you try playing now in the new jungle, you get past like the first camp. If you need like a bodyguard, you need to bloody re-roll which game you're playing. Go log into World of Warcraft, pick a bodyguard, come back onto Summoner's Rift and run around in the jungle with him because you can't do that. By yourself anymore. But being able to, like, Gnar is a really good example in my opinion of someone. I like playing Gnar in the jungle as well, but he's really struggles with those early clears. But at the same time, without the Stalker's Blade, he's pretty terrible for, good luck. The Boomerang is okay at ganking, but not really that great because it's pretty unreliable. And he's more of a sustained damage person anyway, rather and trying to rely on your Mega Gnar transformations going into a gank is
Right.
good luck with that.
Sketchy at best.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But so he kind of wants that Stalker's Blade, but he can't get it early because he's going to get destroyed, absolutely mullered by the jungle early. So I like that it kind of opens up that you can now play these kind of crappy junglers and not be like the fact that you're not punished for this, which is what you were saying was a bad thing. This is why I'm in two minds about it, because it's, yeah,
Well, it's
is,
it's a band-aid fix for the junglers who were having such a hard
yeah,
time
that's
early.
also, yeah, that's also true. Like yeah, that may be true, mate. It's the problem is with the balancing in the jungle that I found in history is that it's really hard to change the jungle in a way that makes the weak ones stronger without making the strong
One's
ones
stronger.
Even stronger.
really strong. Yeah. But I suppose that's true with everything, right? When you change like the environment rather than the specific champions. But it's like with Spirit Stone, when Spirit Stone got removed in season 5, that was something which was, it made certain champions really good, like a Mumu, for example, Spirit of Spectral Wraith. Holy crap, you cleared ridiculously fast, and you had like you could. I used to go into the jungle. I used to go to the Wraith camp, and I used to like just go in there to heal. I would heal like 200-300 health off my Spectral Wraith from taking race with a Mumu, because he just so much AoE damage, and yeah, so like Spirit Stone made those junglers weaker, but also like I say, like Lissandra is a good example. But even like you said, you like to play Olaf, someone who the mana issue specifically junglers, it makes them harder to play. But this is the thing. At the same time, people like Olaf, like Kha'Zix, like Wukong, maybe even Pantheon, but Pantheon's kind of, he's a really good jungler still. These champions are weaker because they don't have Spirit Stone, which is, in my opinion, intended, because Wukong, Kha'Zix still works. You just can't spam your abilities in the jungle anymore. But at the same time, it's not, it stops. Kha'Zix was the biggest offender, right? Because he just Spirit Stone, and Kha'Zix was just disgusting.
Well, I mean, and even pre-nerf Wukong, before they changed up the way his Q worked and a couple other things, he was played a lot at the beginning of last season too.
Yeah, it was.
So I mean, like that, there are definite it definitely helps out certain champions.
Well, once you get that Trailblazer though, now on
That's
champions
true.
like that, your mana regeneration while you're in combat with the
'cause
monsters it's nice. It keeps
Well, and
you
every
in the
time
fight.
you smite a camp, you get a chunk of mana back
Right.
too. Like that was the other thing. Even with Poacher's current incarnation, there are certain times where if I do happen to be in the enemy jungle, like, or even when you're getting invaded, that extra heal that you get from just a random camp can be the make or break between having mana to kill somebody, to get away, that extra health to get one more hit in to murder somebody. I love that item too. Chilling Smite's great, but.
Hey Fox, quick question for you. We see a lot in the bottom lane will take for example, starting blue side, they'll take the Krugs so that you start a Grump. How often do you see that, and would you recommend it in solo queue, or would you ask your players in solo queue if they wanted to do that?
As for the bot lane or for the jungler?
For the bot,
like,
you're the jungler.
bot
You ask
lane,
the bot
yeah,
lane, hey, do you guys want to take Krugs?
Yeah, it is a very good strategy. In my opinion, you should be doing it if you can do it, because the advantage it gives you, you miss like 1, maybe 2 creeps, and you get like
Half
a lot of
your
XP.
level.
yeah, exactly. It's definitely worth it. And this is the thing, like, even though in the past, like earlier, I recommended you should start your bot side, and just get a huge leash. The thing is, I don't even in like at the moment I'm sitting around in mid to high diamond level, and even I don't really see the bot lane sufficiently taking, the Krugs. So.
Right.
This is why I would always still recommend trying to get a leash from your bot lane, because the advantage, or the benefit, I should say, that it gives you as a jungler can be higher than the benefit it gives to your bot lane if they don't know how to do it properly. Because if you don't know how to do it properly and you don't like juggle aggro and leash it out, as like by resetting it and stuff, like going out of the aggro range, then you're gonna go on like 40% health, right? And if it's the AD carry who's gone on 40% health, then you've got
Yeah.
one potion. The lane,
Screwed up your
you
lane.
lost the lane just because you didn't know how to do the cruise properly. So
Right.
it's kind of risky in that sense. But yeah, I would recommend to do it if you know how to do it, and if you don't know how to do it, Google it because Google's a magnificent thing. It has a lot of answers, and there are videos on there to teach you how to do it. And you know, Crepper, I've seen a video
yeah.
on Reddit of him doing it as well. So there's definitely stuff out there for you to learn how to do it.
I've seen him talk about Thresh, for example, where you have
Yeah.
the flay and you kind of walk it with the flay on the Gromp, for example, if you're starting red side, and you get there before the second minion dies. So you only lose one minion out of that whole thing. So there's ways to do it, but yeah, I guess I'll ask for it in solo queue, but then I realize, you know what? If they don't do it right,
This is a thing. I would never
There's
say
screw
to a
it,
bot
so.
lane, please take my cruise, because
Right.
if they're not
Right.
doing it themselves, if they're not
if they're
with their
uncomfortable,
own
yeah.
initiative, then yeah, chances are it's like saying to someone in Champion Select, yo, Kassadin, okay, this is maybe a flashback a year ago, but yo, Kassadin's open, pick him. And even when
Yeah.
Kassadin was just like, oh god, like terrifying in solo
overpowered.
queue. Yeah, when he was just disgusting. Even if he was open, if someone doesn't pick him, unless they didn't realize he slipped through bans, which does happen sometimes, right? Because the overpowered champions, someone just expect them to be permabanned, so they don't even think about picking them. But if someone tries to do something that, even if it's a good thing to do, they don't know how to do it, it's not going to work. So
Yeah.
I would never suggest to someone, if they're not doing Krugs, yo guys, do my Krugs, because they'll muck it up somehow and it will end up worse for them. So
They end up going to lane with a quarter health and both give up 2
Yeah,
kills
exactly.
early in your
and
bone.
without even killing the Krugs are
Yeah.
still alive.
Yeah, right. They don't take anything. They
hurt
don't even get the
with the health.
experience. And they've already lost it.
Oh, it's terrible.
Well, okay. I have a general question. Again, just hosting this show tonight, letting you guys do all the talking about jungle because I play top, not jungle. I expect my jungler to be up there all the
hey,
time.
you've been
ganking for me.
playing jungle. Don't
No.
say that.
Yeah.
You've been
Even island.
I'm on my island and I
monopolizing.
expect Foxdrop to camp my island. Okay. No, really back serious talk is that now that we have double smites within patch 5.1, I'm sure we've all played with it a little bit, gotten the idea how to use a double smite properly. I've been thinking that the blue side Wraith camp has suddenly become a very hot commodity, especially mid to late game, because of the buff that it gives for the sweeping wards and whatnot. And it's more of a general question. Do you agree with me? Do you think that because that camp becomes a hot commodity if you have 2 smites available? And if you're on either side, should you be camping that camp? I'll Fox if you want to go ahead.
What do you mean? Why are you specifically referring to the blue side?
Because it's the
just
closest
because it's
to
closer
the
to
dragon.
dragon.
Okay, for drag, right? So, in my opinion, that's that is true, but I think it's more so just that the chicken buff is the strongest one in my opinion because it's really unique. Like the other buffs are all kind of, firstly they're all marginal things, and secondly they're all like combat stuff, right? Like Grump gives you the thorns, Krugs gives you that stun to help you clear a bit, Red gives you the health, Blue gives you the mana, which is, by the way, that is the most useless smite bonus in my opinion, is the mana from blue buff. Like if you're gonna smite blue buff, you're gonna get a blue buff anyway. So why the hell do you need a mana increase? And
Yeah, right.
if you're gonna smite it to donate it away, then like chances are if you're at that stage where you're okay to donate your blue buff, you don't need mana because you're donating your blue. Anyway, that's my rant out of the way.
I
I'm
completely
probably gonna do
feel
that
you
a
on
few
that one.
times. I'm just gonna like go random tangents and be like, "This is so
Oh no!
terrible. That's so okay."
Please, that's what this is all for. Fun fact: Ghostcrawler actually listens to the show, so he's listening to you right
Okay.
now. Complain about that.
Oh, okay.
so.
Ghost Crawler, make it so that blue buff gives health as well. It's a big buff. It hurts like hell. Why do we need mana? We don't need mana. And no, I'm not just saying it's because I'm a leashing main who uses energy. But anyway, I'll get off this before he like bans one of my accounts or some shit.
No, he's a good guy. No, but like my point being here that we go to mid late game, whatever it may be, that Raptor cap specifically, or chickens as you like to call it, becomes a hot commodity because as long as you smite it and then kill it, they can't smite it to get that same buff. And now that you have 2 smites, you can use that spare smite. I won't say willy-nilly, but you can use it to either take the Scuttle Crab, you can use it to take the Raptors, but I think now that should be a really highly contested camp. Now, you're not going to fight over it, per se, like you would Dragon, but you should keep tabs on it when it comes to time to start taking Dragon.
Well, it's hard to. By the way, I'm sorry if I'm drawing out conversation here. Feel free to jump in, any of you too, if you want as well. I'm just if you want to jump in.
Go.
I'm just-
Oh, we'll interrupt you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
we're
verbal
really good
diarrhea
at
for it.
interrupting.
The chickens, because the chickens is a hot topic for me as well. So I'm just like, oh my god, the chickens. Let me talk.
Yeah, let's talk chickens. Talk chickens. Tell us everything about chickens.
Yes. So
Don't hold
thing
back.
is,
Fuck, fuck.
God, please, I was waiting for that.
Yes.
So I was.
Let the man talk. Damn it.
All right, go on.
For me, it's not necessarily it's to do with the. It's not necessarily that it's with a double smite, although I guess you can smite chickens and then still have your smite up for the dragon.
Right.
But
That's the point that I was trying to make.
yeah.
is you have
Okay.
two
So
sides.
I guess that is true as well. But for me, it's still just the chicken camp is after a certain point where the other buffs are not that useful. Then especially that Krugs becomes pretty much useless after laning phase is over. Gromp is very marginal in team fights, especially against the only people it's going to make a different you're going to notice the damage on are people with low health who are squishy who are attacking you frequently, i.e. the AD carries, and AD carries will have life still, so that doesn't so again it kind of cancels it out completely, but yeah, and the wolf camp smite is nice in the enemy jungle, but even then it's better in the lane phase again where you can try and spot out junglers or something like that. But yeah, the chickens on the other hand is just you can do that. That bonus is great in the lane phase because you can just even if you just stomp a ward and you don't necessarily get a gank off that stomped ward, the difference people play when they have vision compared to when they don't have vision is pretty big as well. So you kind of just mind game them there. And also, I did a whole video talking about this. I'll try to explain it in a really condensed form. Is that the chickens isn't just good for some people think that when you smite the chickens, that if the little oracle symbol above your head doesn't flash on and you haven't spotted a ward and stomped it, that you're wasting the chickens. Because that's not true at all. Because the whole time you're running around the map with this chicken buff on you. Exactly. And it doesn't pop. You're like, okay, this isn't warded, then that information is almost as valuable as the information of I am spotted because you know what you can get away with, you can make plays.
It's huge peace of mind.
I was gonna say we've talked about that before with sweeper. People are like, all right, well I've used my sweeper and I don't find wards. Same thing goes with that. Is if you're not finding wards, you know you're safe and you know where the enemy can't see you, or you know where the enemy's not.
It's a great spot to set a pick or anything knowing where they don't have vision is as great as knowing where they have vision. In some cases.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, it is. If you can steal that chicken away from the enemies as well, then not only is it you don't just get that chicken, you're denying it from the enemy. So the swing isn't just say you're equal, now you're +1 and they're -1 kind of thing because they didn't get it themselves. So almost you can, in some kind of strange sense, you can almost think of it as double the benefit because not only are you getting it, but they aren't getting it. If that makes sense. So yeah, it is. Yeah, it's always, in my opinion, I don't know whether it's gonna be contested necessarily because it's that thing which is oh, it's there and it's gone because you just have to smite it, right? You don't need to kill it like the Scuttle Crab, for example, which actually needs to die before you get its bonus. You smite it and you got it.
How many times have you done a drive-by smite just to get the buff to keep on rolling to bot lane because you know that they're gonna get counter ganked or something, so you just run by, smite it, so you know that they're either you're gonna cancel their ward and try brush or because I've done that a couple times and it's just it makes me giggle a little bit every time.
Yeah, it's tricky if you've got rangers, and that's always a good thing to do because you're not going to use the rangers in the gank. If you've got stalkers, sometimes it's a bit risky because you don't want to smite something and then not have your stalkers up for the gank. And also, quick tip: learn this the hard way. Before you smite the chicken camp, always check that bush, which is by the red buff or a pink ward, because your chicken buff will proc on the pink ward, and you're like, crap,
Well, fun fact, we might be some of the reasons you're running into that because we'll tell people to drop a ward into the chicken camp.
Into the chicken camp, yep. A totem ward, if you got one, as a mid laner, that's a good way to deny it.
That's the thing as well. I think there's a slight kind of misconception about that, where people think that if you stick that ward in the chicken camp, that's the best ward placement possible. In my opinion, you should only put the ward in the chicken camp if you can't get around to put it just slightly further out because I'm not quite sure why this. Yeah, why this idea floats around that it's if it's not in the chicken camp, then you're not really wasting their buff. It's if you're gonna put it there anyway, just to kind of consume that chicken buff, you may as well put it in a position where you're actually gonna get vision anyway. So
especially if you're gonna play something that might last a while to know if there's a mid laner roaming bot or something like that.
Or just a critical time when you're if you're, say you're playing mid, you're about to hit level 6, and you're like, I'm going to take this guy down. If you're Syndra, for example, if you're Syndra, I'm going to rage a little bit here, and you see the enemy jungler, you just need to sneeze and that jungler dies. Oh my God, I hate playing versus Syndra so much. He has so much burst damage. It just blows me up instantly. But yeah, if you think that you're going to come up to a point where there's going to be, you're like, okay, I want to make a play soon, then putting vision down in preparation, because the worst thing is like feeling like you're dominating a lane, going balls deep in that lane, and then having
then
the
getting
enemy
blown
jungler
up.
swoop. Yeah, exactly, and then just having it
Yeah.
all like, yeah, that's
I've a-
that's the worst thing. So
While we're on the chicken camp, let's say you risk doing it before your first back, but you're a champion who can clear pretty well. Do you kill the little guys first because of the damage
if
they
you're
do?
yeah, if you're single target,
Right.
then you should
You
kill the
have to
little
kill.
ones first, because the damage is quite evenly spread over the different
Overall
over the
board, yeah.
multiple chickens, over the whole hatchery. It's pretty equally spread. So
And you
yeah.
can knock them down fast.
I think people would
Yeah,
be
exactly. They die fast.
surprised at how little damage the big one does by itself
Mm.
compared to when they're all hitting you.
Yeah, definitely. But if you're someone like, say, for example, I guess Mumu's a good example too. Like, you can kind of like do your little Mumu headbutt on the 3 mini ones, just maybe once each, and then focus the big one, and then
Maybe you'll finish.
you can, yeah, and then with your like W and your E tick in, they die kind of by mistake anyway. So it's not necessarily a good idea to just focus them down individually if you've got good AoE clear by
Right.
yourself. But Irelia is one of the junglers who I think is kind of underrated. I don't think she's really that good, but people think she's absolutely terrible, which isn't true in my opinion. She's really good. Like, I'm not saying Irelia's the best because she can do this, but you can just, like, if you press W, you basic attack and then instantly Q, and that's one little chicken dead, and then basic attack, instantly Q, basic attack, instantly Q, and just kind of like flick around the whole chicken camp with your blade surge, just keeps resetting. And that's kind of funny to do. But especially, that's another reason why Ranged Trailblazer is pretty good, because especially early, like, it's underrated, but the AoE damage, you can usually with the Ranger's Smite and then a basic attack, the minis die by themselves, and that actually saves you a lot of damage.
I was gonna make a choking the chicken joke, but he
Oh,
talked
no.
about flicking the chicken, and it doesn't really quite work as well.
Two
But-
different spits there.
Hey, explicit tag for a reason. So right
Oh,
now,
Adam.
we have we've gone over the. Wait, let me ask you this first. Have you said everything you want to say about the chickens, or do you got more? Because if you got more, I want you to go for it.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think. Oh, one more thing actually. But it's only a minor point.
Gotcha.
Hey, chickens are. I have like you'd think I have a PhD in, like, I've played Civilization. I've got like the farming trait or something. That's kind of what I am right now. I'm just like, yeah, chickens. I'm on that. Trust me. Everything you need to know. But if you see a ward with your like chicken oracles, you don't have to stop and stomp it necessarily if you're on your way to a gank. I see a lot of people going in for the gank, and then they're like, oh, I'm spotted by a
Stop on
ward.
a ward,
Ugh,
yeah.
that's a shame. I'm not going to get this gank off anymore. It's like, no. If they're out of position, who cares about wards? People will often play over aggressive because they're like, oh, I've got a ward, thinking that ward grants them like some kind of invulnerability, and then you just run through the ward and you just kill them anyway. So you don't have to stomp. But yeah, that's just something to bear in mind. If you think you're going to get the gank off, don't stop to kill the chicken, the ward. You don't need to do that. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
all
'cause
done.
at least you know where it is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly as well.
Since we're moving on from the chickens, I have a quick question for you. They recently changed it so that the dragon, his attacks count as spells instead of auto attacks, so I can't do my Pantheon cheese anymore.
Yeah.
Do you find with some champions you still like to get a surprise early dragon?
That is a good question, because it's tricky, because in my opinion the early dragon isn't really worth anything. Well, not worth. That's a lie. It's not worth that much. Like the old
worth the
early
investment?
dragon. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not convinced it is really, because the old early dragon gave you all that global gold, crap ton of experience. But if I'm not mistaken, right now the dragon by itself, if you do it, say you can do like a level 2 or 3 cheese. I know Aatrox can still do a level 2 cheese, right? Because he's like literally can't die when he has his heal
Signing
W
can do
up.
it too.
Yeah, okay, Sion's another one as well. Like, what is if he dies or something and
Yep.
comes
Yeah.
back?
Yeah.
Yep, there you
He
go.
just
So,
smacks it until it's dead.
Poppy as well, I think, is another. But yeah, all these kind of like cheesy strats. Notice how all these champions we just listed, by the way, are pretty terrible junglers, so not worth taking. Although, actually Poppy isn't so bad, but yeah. and Sion and H4, whatever. That's not.
They're terrible junglers. But wait,
Back to what I was saying.
Let's not go. Let's not go into that. But yeah, I don't honestly. I don't personally think it's worth it because the 8, like as a percentage as well, percentage stuff is always better later on. Flat is better early. So yeah, as a percentage, when you don't really have that much, the percent doesn't really. 8% isn't a huge amount, and the amount it sets you back. Oh, is it 6%? Okay, then yeah, I think it might have been 8. Yeah, okay, then so sorry, 6% right now. Even worse, and it's even worse, and yeah, it's not worth the fact you put yourself behind so much, especially if you get counter jungled in that time as well. Like if the enemy shows your second buff and takes it, and you're not there because you're cheesing dragon for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Then exactly, the amount of time it takes, just even if you could kill the dragon in the same time you could kill the like other camps, it would still be a questionable choice just because it's so far out of the way that you then have to run like peg it for like another on a huge trek just to get back onto your jungle route. So it's
or you're solo, you might have to back.
It gives it doesn't give a lot of experience either.
No.
Yeah.
So
it's not worth in my opinion. That is something which people, they think if a certain jungler can do something cheesy, then oh my goodness, this is so good. I remember seeing a video of a level 1 Pantheon taking dragon where you had to take attack speed reds, attack speed yellows, attack speed blues, attack speed quints.
Claude's done it.
Yeah, there you go. And have W at level 1. I'm just sitting there thinking, bloody hell, you're like, it takes you 4 minutes to kill this dragon. Level 1.
Yeah.
We've done
that's pointless because you'll be at dragon before it spawns at level 2 anyway if you kill the Krugs first. So.
Yeah, we've done level 2 like Lee Sin, Sion cheese, where Sion basically just goes straight to the dragon pit, and like I was playing Lee, and we'd start Krugs and move into red, and as soon as red's done, he's already smacking dragon, meet him at dragon, and the two of us kill it. We killed it before the smite even came back up. So like it didn't take that long, but the fact that the enemy laner was already shoving a wave into the top turret, it's how do you measure giving up that experience advantage and not being able to farm while in lane?
Exactly. So you got teleport to go back, but still you don't get level 2 from killing it.
Right.
So it's just I agree with the later maybe once your carry goes back and gets that BF sword or gets the pickaxe, maybe then it becomes
so they can
more
get those multiplicative
option.
gains.
Yeah,
right.
It's also not necessarily just the first buff you have to think about, but it's like, okay, if I take this buff early, it means that dragon's going to be up earlier than it might be if I hadn't taken it early. And then you can start rolling the later buffs earlier as well, right? So, you can getting 5 stack dragon in a game is pretty rare anyway, but, you can get that earlier and then make that push to take advantage of it.
You have to be on top of it, and you have to be at the point where your lanes can actually leave to start taking dragons. And if, let's say you have your support go help you with that dragon early, like you have to do with the Sion cheese, it puts them at a disadvantage. And then even if you have the timer, you're not allowed. You're not afforded the opportunity to take that second dragon on time.
On the flip side of that as well, if your top laner loses out pretty hard and say they're going up against like a Rumble or something like that who has great dragon control later, when that second dragon spawns that you potentially, are going for, the enemy team might just have an advantage because their top laner is up a level and a half, or like it has way more money because they were able to zone somebody else. So you might effectively be going into a dragon fight almost, 4.5 versus 5.
Preseason Dragon, when it first came out with the auto attacks like the Pantheon could block, I was finding out all the different champions you could cheese it with and having fun doing that and making videos on it and everything. And then they changed it, and I was like, okay, well, what champions can you still do it with? And then I found out who you could do it with, and Sion particularly, because he's one of my favorites. And then, but every time we did it, it was like, well, it didn't really help too much. It was fun and it was cool.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
Great,
so.
You got 3 extra AD in lane.
Yeah, the XP is so nominal on it. So.
Let's talk some more. Of course, we're still going to keep talking jungle because this whole damn episode's about. And we like to give tips and tricks. We're going to move over a couple tips and tricks. New junglers that are working on smiting. You get into those wars. The big thing right now is screaming. Pulling a Saint Vicious smite and not being able to grab that dragon or secure that baron. Do you have like a definitive tip for people to get better at that, especially now that the numbers are shown?
Yeah, there's actually like a weird bug right now where sometimes the smite number shows above your skill bar, and sometimes it shows above your character portrait. I'm just like, where the hell do I look? What's
It's
going
in a
on?
different
Sometimes I even
spot
look at
almost every
my
game.
yeah. At least I made this mistake a few times. I actually still looked at my smite icon. I was like, 1 damage. Like, why is my smite doing one? And then I realized I only had 1 charge in my smite. It wasn't the damage.
Oh.
But yeah, that was kind of awkward. My smite is bugged. What am I gonna do? But for securing dragons and barons, this was I did a whole video on this topic as well because it's really important. Like the difference between failing and succeeding in your smite can be pretty big. The first thing, in my opinion, is that you shouldn't really shoulder the blame too much on yourself. A lot of people think just because you're the jungler, you've got the smite, that it's your job to get, to get the dragon. If you don't get it, you suck. That's not necessarily true because whereas yes, you have the trigger, you're not the one who kind of like gives the gun, if that makes sense, right? Just because you've got the trigger. I don't know if that was a good analogy or not, but it's kind of that thing. Obviously, there are some exceptions where, like, if Ezreal ults from base and you've just got a free dragon and he gets it because you failed your smite, yeah, that's kind of your fault. But the whole thing is it's all about creating the best environment for you to get that smite. Because if someone comes in for a steal, if the enemy jungler is alive, his smite's up, and he comes to try and steal that dragon away, even if your team is the one who is engaging that dragon, who is taking that dragon, even if it's like three of you and one of them, as long as both junglers are in the pit by the time dragon or baron is going to die, it's a complete 50-50 chance of who gets that dragon. Honestly, psychologically speaking, I would argue it's a higher chance for the enemy jungler to steal it because he's got nothing to lose. Like, he's not panicky, he's not worried. He's just like, well, we're pretty screwed here. I'm just going to last ditch
that's when
attempt.
hopefully everybody stops attacking the dragon before it's
Well,
smiteable to kill.
yeah.
Well, he's also focused on
him.
what's at hand, whereas the other jungler's like panicking, like, shit, I need to smite this and I don't want to miss
Are
it.
more coming? Yeah.
Yeah, and like the enemy jungler's just looking at dragon, just like trying to get in there and steal it, where your jungler's looking at him, like, what's he doing? Is he going to come in? Well, so he's got more things to focus on as well. So if I would say, if you want to take dragon or baron and the enemy jungler is around, either don't do it or get him out of the picture before you do it. So whether his smite is down or his or he's dead, that's a pretty good way of making sure he doesn't get it if you kill him. But even things like back in the old day, that bloody Gragas combo, like QR from Gragas, God, I lost so many barons to that, and everyone always raged at me. It's like that combo does like 6,000 damage. My smite does like 800. Why are you
That's how I
raging
felt
at
with
me?
Callisto.
Well, that's
That's
exactly it. Like right now, there are times where Dragon has like 1,500 health, and Callisto will just one shot him. Like, okay, I wasn't even needed for this. Why did I even bother bringing Smite this?
Right.
Yeah, it is. It's just, yeah.
If we're not worrying about that, I guess the other point of topic that I wanted to bring up before these guys can ask any other questions is we had talked about double brutalizer junglers a few episodes back, and I know that you were all super happy when I brought it up pre-show. We like it a lot. We think it makes certain junglers more powerful than others. Let's talk double brutalizer. Do you like it? Are you having fun with it? Who you running it on? Why would you run it? Go for it.
I love double brutalizer. Like, just for clarity, by double brutalizer, talking about warrior enchantment, which builds from brutalizer, and then brutalizer. It's
right.
That combo itself gives you huge amounts of AD, decent armor pen as well. So damage on the damage front, it's crazy, and it's also pretty gold efficient. And the important thing as a jungler as well is the CDR and the fact that it builds from small components. Right, it builds from long swords, and having items which build from small components is really important on a jungler because you're often a bit like economy starved as a jungler, and being able to buy your items in small pieces where you can afford them rather than having to save up like Infinity Edge would be the worst jungle item because holy crap, how are you going to get 1,600 gold you could retire with 1,600 gold if you ever got that as a jungler. So you're not going to find yourself with that much gold at one time. So yeah, not only it's really convenient for a jungler, but yeah, the CDR is something I want to put extra focus on because you get 20% CDR just from warrior and brutalizer or the double brutalizer combo, which is half cap. And if you've got 10% from your runes and masteries, which is for those not aware, 10% from runes and masteries would be getting the 4 points in the offensive tree for CDR, which gives you 5%. And then if you take 6 CDR blues, that gives you 5% as well. So those combined give you 10%. And then you have blue buff, you are capped. You basically have like 2 items, pretty early game items as well, mind you, like early mid game. and you're capped on CDR, which can be really good for certain champions
It's
like Vi as well.
amazing when other people don't have that much CDR and you have it early. You
Mhm.
get off entire rotations of abilities before they get off one.
I mean, just
Yeah.
having 20% CDR, for example, off of like Magus on a Mumu can make
Yeah.
game-winning
Definitely.
ultimates happen.
I mean, it's a difference between your ult potentially being up every time you go to engage a major fight or not in the early game.
Yes, that can be really, really important as well. If you're playing champions like I'm thinking of the double brutalizer champions. Like on Lee Sin, I wouldn't really argue that it's that important because his ulti doesn't really have a high cooldown, and I tend to argue that energy champions are more limited by their resource pool rather than their cooldown specifically. But Vi, Pantheon are probably the two biggest examples. Like Jarvan, I don't really think as much of a CDR. Yeah, Wukong is another good one as well. But those champions who have really, really high impact ultis, and yeah, it's kind of like the champions who, if your ult's down, you're like almost two different champions kind of thing. Like just their power levels and how good you are is, yeah, like one of the reasons why Jarvan is, in my opinion, the best jungler right now is because even without his ult, he's still crazy strong, right? He can still do loads of stuff. But Vi is, she's not useless without her ulti, but you get that ult and you're pretty much guaranteed to kill. Pantheon with his ult up is guaranteed to, again, almost guaranteed to kill, especially if you go bot lane, you can even be guaranteed 2 kills. It's just, yeah, like the CDR is just is so delicious. And if you then have like, for example, Jarvan has his Q that shreds armor, and Vi has a W that shreds armor, and then you're shredding even more armor. Like these
Right.
guys are just like
You're
they're
doing
like
almost true
beyond
damage.
naked. Yeah, exactly. It's just it's really foul. It's crazy strong. I love that combo so much.
I was looking at you, Chira. I know we have more jungle discussion here to talk about, and you're just dying to talk about all the junglers you're playing.
I've been playing a bunch of weird stuff. All right, so I know this is probably not the thing you want to hear, but there's a lot of people who have been building sort of like more of a support rune, like the third tier mastery page, that to enable them to have more mana earlier, get more XP, so they can continue to snowball an advantage early. How do you feel about a more support sort of mastery page, sort of in that like borderline almost trick to G, which I hate saying that sort of style, but that, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. You mean like mastery pages people say something like 16-0-14 or something like that for I'm honestly not a huge fan of them because for me the really deep points in the offensive tree are really, really, really good. Like in my opinion, the what's that double pen?
Hold on,
it takes
right
20
now.
points to get it.
Yeah, that one is
second to last.
That is probably
it's so good
mastery in my opinion.
It's devastating strikes. The 6% armor and magic pen.
6% of
each.
God, that's disgusting. It's
especially
crazy.
on a champion like Lee Sin who's doing hybrid damage anyway, just from his E and his Q. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it is. It's really, really good. So if you don't go 20 points into offensive, you're missing out on that. And if you're 20 points in offensive, if you're 20 points in any tree and you don't get the last one, don't do that. Like you should always get the last one.
You're stupid. You're missing 3% increased damage by not.
What about tanky junglers like Amumu?
Or like junglers that have, especially like tankier junglers that have mana issues without blue buff.
Yeah, that on those champions who, like, in my opinion, you don't have to get 21 points in defensive. Like I would argue, you really should go 21 points in offensive on certain champions. So like the tanks, for example. What I mean by that is that the tanks don't necessarily have to go 21 points in defensive. So for them, it is, in my opinion, it's you can do that if you want. Like honestly, that's fine if you want to take more points in utility. Especially like tanks are kind of more utility anyway, right? That's what they do. They're not there to slaughter carries. They're there to be meat shield, soak up as much as they can, and just help.
I like to do that on Sejuani. I like to go 0921 actually for the extra move speed around, and then the biscuits, of course. And then I go, I buy an Aegis into it, what you would call it, the Ionian thing that you can use for everybody to get armor, and I build her more support. The locket, there you go. So that's where I found it pretty useful, and the biscuits I find help keep me in the jungle early with all that stuff.
And Sejuani is actually probably if I were to give an example of a champion who would be like the perfect example to display where that would actually be a good idea, would be Sejuani because she really can struggle with her early close, especially like she takes so much damage, which can. This is probably the biggest weakness of Sejuani is you get invaded and you're dead because you're
Right.
a,
Better have
a lot,
Q and
a
run
lot of the
away.
times you're low. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
and that's if you have the mana to queue. I
It's
mean,
that too. It is. It's not nice being Sejuani in the early game, and yeah. So anything masteries, yeah, the masteries that will help you through that can be good. But I would also argue that it's kind of preferential as well because there are certain, in my opinion, certain setups that you could take 21 points in offensive still on someone like Sejuani and just
Make it work.
yeah,
And eat.
it's a really good mastery tree for everything because it's not just about killing people, it's about killing the jungle as well. And there are certain points in that mastery tree which will help you kill the jungle. And
right.
it depends how you like to play though, because obviously that's quite a ballsy page for someone like Sejuani who is, you know, she's not like an assassin or
Well,
anything like that.
Yeah.
So
And the other thing is, if you get hot behind with something like that, you don't have the
Oh, yeah.
defensive masteries to make up for that deficit that you would have of not being able to buy tanking, like more tank reliant
Mhm.
items early.
yeah, it's true. You don't want to find yourself behind with like an offensive anything. If you're offensive and you're behind, that's
You're fucked.
yeah, that's not going to be too good because you know someone who is if you're trying to do damage and you fail at that, then okay, you're literally useless. But at least if you're trying to be tanky and
You're
you know
behind.
you're
You're
really
still
far
useful.
behind, yeah, you can still soak some things up. You can still do some stuff. You can at least get some utility out yourself before you fall over and die. So
Well, and that's especially true on champions like Sejuani, who, you know, once they hit 6, they do have, you know, an arguably fight-changing ultimate if they can
Oh,
land it
yeah.
on more than one person. So
definitely.
Well,
So if you
let's,
can't get that off,
I was just reminded that we have a whole bunch of questions actually to ask. Plus, there's a couple that have come in the Twitch chat, so I'm going to drop these at you. This is the Crab Goddess just asked one in Twitch chat, so I'm going to throw this out there since we're talking.
can I just
SJs.
say hi, Crab Goddess? I know he's a sub on my stream.
Yes.
Hi, mom.
I see a bunch of people talking in there. They're
Hello.
obviously subs in the stream, by the way. They're like, oh my God, Bob is here and whatnot. So the Crab Goddess, he's asking this question. Anybody's allowed to answer this. After putting 21 points in defense for a Mumu, would it be better to put the remaining 9 points in offense for that 5% CDR and some AP, or utility for move speed and neutral buff duration?
That's a good question. I think firstly there's no wrong answer here, but secondly, I'm going to try to keep these answers quick because you know I don't want to run too over on time.
Oh yeah, we got
5%
a little bit of time, so go ahead.
Okay, the 5% CDR by itself isn't really, in my opinion, if you're going to get that 5% CDR, you should also take the 5% from your runes. And on a Mumu, I'd take AP blues. So I'm not too sold on him having that, and you know the AP per level, and yeah, it's okay, but I would lean personally more towards. Well, actually, I like going 21 points on offensive on mastery. No surprise on a Mumu. Sorry, no surprises there because I do that on pretty much everyone because I don't know why I'm crazy, but yeah, I would not 21 9 probably be my preference because again with Spirit Stone removal, his mana can be a bit iffy, so having the mana regen on there can be quite nice as well, especially if you haven't gone Rangers Trailblazer. Even then, it's still nice. But yeah, I would say bottom line, no wrong answer, but yeah, I would lean more towards utility myself personally.
For me, when in doubt, move speed. I
yeah,
love move speed.
You can't go
especially
wrong
on a
with
jungler.
speed. Yeah, that's true as well.
I like. I kind of go. I'm just learning jungle now. Like I said, top lane main forever. But Fox, I agree with you with the 21 points. I find myself putting 21 points on pretty much every jungler because
Yeah.
I figure if I'm a Mumu and I'm landing that bandage, they're dead. So why not do all the damage I can do if I'm landing that?
if you're playing a jungler with decent gank potential, doing as much damage in a very short a time is usually the best thing to
Yeah,
do.
definitely. It allows you to buy like 1 or 2 offensive items, or maybe even hybrid items like Sunfire and Horning Guys, you know, semi-hybrid items, and still do crazy damage because you know they're giving you a little bit of damage, and then you're topped off by your offensive tree, and then just go full tank after that.
So Fox, you are a Lee Sin main, correct?
Yes,
All
I
right.
would say
So
so.
you're playing Lee Sin. You're Lee Sin.
Mm.
If your mind is telling you no and your body is telling you yes, which do you listen to?
You hit that cue again.
Of course you hear that, Krugen. There's no way to play. Once you've locked in that champion, you've become one with the Lee syndrome. There's no alternative. If there's any other answer, just leave. Get out. I don't want to be anywhere near you.
So you've hit that cue. You've got what is it, 5 seconds or something to decide, and the answer will always be yes.
Yeah. Might not click it straight away because it's hard to fight that, the sanity in your head telling you really don't want to do this, but no, it's like, damn, take it. And yeah, oops. And then when you die, inevitably you type XD in chat. That's like that kind of like trolley face where I hate seeing that face. When someone dies and I type XD, I'm just like, oh my god, I hate you so much. That bloody face.
Okay, another question for you. We have the new gates that have been added in patch 5.1. Are you loving the gates right now as a jungler?
I haven't really noticed them that much because I tend to click on the minimap and then just like, if I'm in spawn, I click on where I want to go and then I just I'm on autopilot mode. I tend to like check out the lanes, like what the lanes are going on while I'm just walking around the map. So I really haven't even noticed them, and to be honest, I probably haven't even been taking advantage of them where I could because I'm not used to them enough. I don't really think they're that game breaking or anything like that, but it does make it easy to actually kind of come back in a game, I think, where you can, if say like you're being sieged upon, you can easily just walk through the gate and you can kind of sandwich them quite easily. It allows you to get some really easy engages off because now the enemy isn't just defending from like one side, like straight ahead, which they would be if they're sieging a tower. They now have to worry about straight ahead and to our side, and if you're really sneaky, you can run all the way up and then like loop around on them or something like that, So yeah, it makes it easy to get nice engaged off to come back into games, but nothing too big in my opinion.
It gives you an extra variable to engage from is the biggest takeaway.
Exactly. And the pathing is already reprogrammed, so if you just click on your base, let's say you click near your red from out of base, you'll automatically go through that gate. So
yeah, that's what I mean. It does it, but I don't notice it.
Right,
I'm checking lanes. I'm not really looking where I'm running. So
like, wait a minute, I'm here already.
Oh. Yeah, like, what's going on? Oh, nice.
So another question. This one's coming from Reddit, and I'll let Fox answer this because I think we've all talked about this in the past. Do you think it's the job of the jungler to fill holes in the team comp?
That is a good question. I think. Man, I think yes and no. Okay, that's the worst answer possible, but
you sound like me in my head. I'm like, well, yes, you should fill a hole, but at the same time, if I'm good at this, anyway.
Yeah, you should never fill a hole. Which like if you're like a triangle, you should never try a circle, right? Because you're not gonna fit. Have you ever seen like those babies trying to? There's like a GIF of a.
That's hilarious. That's the best way I've ever heard this described.
Have you seen that GIF of that otter who gets given like
yes, and he's just pissed as all hell.
Yeah, if you're that cup and you don't fit, like. That otter. What happens to that cup? They all get thrown in the water because the otter gets mad because they don't fit. You don't want to get tossed into the water. That's not what you want to have happen with your playing a game. So yeah, if you don't think you can fit a certain role, don't do it. But at the same time, it can be pretty beneficial to fill certain roles if your team is lacking them. And again, like another counter argument in solo queue, in my opinion, team comps really don't mean that much because the way you win and lose games isn't necessarily down to your champions and your picks. It's more about people who make. If you make mistakes, if you misplay, if you don't know the matchup, like I've seen people pick like the biggest counter picks, like Swain into Ari, for example. Ari is a champion that gets picked quite a lot because you tend to see quite a lot of Ari mains, but not very many Swain mains, and people will, they'll hear that, oh yeah, Swain deals with Ari easy, and then they just get destroyed by that Ari because they don't know how to play Swain and they don't know how to play against Ari. Right. So there's no point trying to fill a role that you can't fill. But if you think that you say your team needs an initiator and you wanted to play like a Mumu, actually no, that's a bad example because Mumu is a good initiator. You wanted to play someone who's a bad initiator like Soraka, jungle. But you're good at jump.
You could have picked anything, and you picked.
I don't know. I'm on the spot. I couldn't think. Everyone I was thinking of, I was like, yeah, wait, no, he's good at initiating.
Wait,
no, he's good at initiating too. Yeah, but you're also good at Jarvan. Maybe you should pick Jarvan. So yeah, yes and no.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I think if you expand your knowledge and you don't pigeonhole yourself to just one style of jungler, if you can play a really good tanky jungler, you can play a really good aggressive jungler. Bruiser jungler, etc. If you have a good repertoire there, yeah, fill the holes. But like, I agree with what you're saying. Don't be an otter. If you can fill that hole, don't just do it to do it. Like
I-
Kassadin, we were talking about Kassadin before. Okay, he
Yeah.
escaped ban prison. I don't know how to play him, but I'm going to pick him
Right.
because everyone says he's OP, and then you suck.
I linked
So.
that Otter GIF in Twitch chat. by the
Yeah, all
way.
right. I'll make sure that's in.
There you go.
Did you?
It doesn't fit. Thanks for handing me unstackable cups, you asshole. One of the big things I think when you are picking your team comp is I agree with everything you said. Yes, if you can. No, if you can't. Don't pick a champion you're not used to playing just because we need that. But in my opinion, coming from solo queue, a lot of people, even in Platinum, don't understand how to engage a team fight properly, don't understand how to pick team fights. And if you excel at that, and you can pick a champion that can, like Elise said, that can really start a team fight and kick somebody in the ass.
There's people who are just afraid to do that shit too. Like
Right.
they it isn't that they choose poorly. They just don't
Sure,
choose ever.
They've picked Malphite in the top lane. Their only initiation is Malphite, but he wants to counter engage with ult rather than full engage. And
That happens a lot if people are playing champions or roles they're not 100% confident on. Because even if you do a good initiate, your team doesn't always follow up if then like not playing something, like I say, they're 100% confident on, which does happen a fair amount when you're playing solo queue. Like it's very rare that you get people playing the exact roles they want, the exact champions they want. So, it's not that rare for that to happen. But that's kind of like a semi-side point, like initiating champions. Playing someone who's a good initiator is a very good way, in my opinion, to win games in solo queue, because especially lower elo solo queue, because communication is something which really the biggest difference between solo queue and competitive is the communication, right? Team play, that kind of thing. And mechanically, especially at the challenger levels, obviously the difference between the pros and the solo queue heroes isn't that much difference. But if you don't need to communicate when you've seen a Mumu Bandages Tosh flash. Curse a sad mummy. You're not thinking, I wonder what this Amumu's thinking about doing. You're thinking, holy crap, this Amumu wants to fight. We're going in. And then everyone goes in. Exactly. And in that moment, when you've initiated, everyone's, boom, they're working on the same page. That's good. You want people to do that in solo queue. And in addition to that, not only does everyone work on the same page, but you control when you fight. And you can pick good fights. You can choose to not pick bad fights, which can happen. People initiate dumb fights as well.
Yeah.
So if you know when to go in, you're playing initiating champion, it can give you really good results if you're good at initiating.
Okay, last question for the night, unless these guys have something else that they're dying to ask. People want to know, what do you think are the top 3 solo queue junglers right now?
Rek'Sai, Jarvan. I'll probably say Jarvan, Rek'Sai actually, but Rek'Sai, Jarvan, and then they're the, like, in my opinion, undisputable top 2. I'm not a huge fan of Rek'Sai's kit personally, but her damage is
so stupid.
Yeah, it's just
stupid.
Yeah, that just really just throws her overboard. Jarvan is just amazing all around. You can do whatever you want with Jarvan, really. He's the definition of
tanky
versatile.
damage, whatever.
Yeah.
3 stats all day and CC.
Yeah, and you can your peeling is okay if you trap someone in your ultimate. Well, you can trap them in your ulti until they walk out of it. That is, and you can engage. You can even your jungle part. You're so unpredictable because you can level 2 gank like a boss on Jarvan. Like he's really good at level 2 ganking too. So you can do whatever you want with him.
Completely dodge usual ward placements by just EQing.
Well, I love Jarvan because you can R or EQ R, then flash out, and you can keep a whole team
in one area.
In one. If you got lucky, you could grab 3 of them, and they're all, no way they're getting out is if they're flashing out of it. Or
you can do something really sexy as well with that, where you can EQ and then ulti. So if you think EQ's one gap, ulti's another gap, you stay in there fighting for a little while, and then you just queue back to your flag, and just jump out. You don't even need to use your flash. You just stand in there, you dance with them a little bit in your cataclysm, and then you just boom, I'm out of here, peace. That's it's just a bit like that scene in Pulp Fiction where John Travolta and Uma Thurman, they're having a little bit of a boogie in the thingy, and then just yeah, let's go back. And apart from hopefully your teammates don't OD and start. Anyway, that's probably where the analogy ends. But yeah, it's a bit like that. And
you know what? One other thing, I guess Jarvan being the ultimate end all be all, he's really nice because bottom lane red side, you can EQ over that wall and wait 8 seconds, and as long as there's not a ward in that bush, it's free gank city because they don't know where you came from.
So Jarvan's wallet says "bad motherfucker" on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It really
His
does.
Flag says
All
bad
right, Foxdrop. Number 3. What's
yes, number 3. Number 3 is I wouldn't say it's so defined, but there's definitely a few of them. I would say Lee Sin, if you know how to play him, Pantheon, Fiddlesticks, Vi, They're the ones I can think of off the top of my head. There's probably other ones in there as well, but there's a few really good ones in my opinion as the third best
I like how you
junglers.
threw Fiddlesticks in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's still
Fiddle's
really
awesome.
he's still really good for
Yeah.
because the new jungle doesn't phase him at all, and he works really well with like counter vision, if that makes sense. Like the way you want to play Fiddle is you want to get really good positions for your ulti off, and the best way to do that is why he's quite a unique champion. The best way to do that is by denying the enemy vision, right? You can't get good ults off if they can see you. That's going to run away from you.
Right.
So that's why you often see Fiddles get sweeper like on their first back because they need it by the time they hit level 6. And the chicken camp gives them another way to do that. And like we were saying earlier, that not only you don't have to stump wards with it, but you're standing in a position, you want to ult over it, and you've got a chicken buff and it's not going off, they can't see you. So it's really good for him in that sense, which in my opinion is an underrated reason why Fiddles become strong as well. But yeah, I think I would. I'm probably missing junglers as well. You know what? I'm gonna look through my champion list here while we go for the rest of the thing, and I'm gonna at the end I'm just gonna shout out a random champion name, and I realize he's good as well. But yeah, I would say
we've got
that's
top
all
two,
solid.
so that works.
Yeah,
I'm going to kind of bring this up as the closing one here because the Crab Goddess asked a question in chat again.
Rengar. Sorry, continue.
Yes, yeah, there you go. Rengar.
Rengar,
Absolutely. But the Crab Goddess asked, so, is there any champions that have been nerfed too hard or any champions that bring nothing to fight these days? And that made me think of Evelyn, who just got a change in patch 5.1. Have you been able to play Evelyn or have you seen Evelyn since then? Anybody?
I had a Diamond buddy play her in a solo queue game with me the other day, and just fuck everybody on the map up. He went
But is that due to the change or just due to the way they play Evelyn?
due to the change and getting DFG Trinity Force and just like basically one-shotting somebody right out of the gate.
That sounds so weird.
It was crazy weird.
But how fed are you? It's like my stupid Shen game where I did static shiv with
Again,
Magnus.
I always have this gripe. I don't know whether it's the build or the fact that the person is incredibly comfortable on a champion that they've played a whole lot of times. But I will say that Evelyn straight up carried the shit out of that game. So
is it like the Twitch thing where people just weren't used to the invisible champions for a while, and then all of a sudden they come back and it's like, holy shit, this guy's kicking my ass? Or do you think that's it? They just weren't prepared for her ganks?
I don't know. I mean, they had good vision.
So I'll throw this out there at Foxdrop because it kind of goes off that question. Do you think that Evelyn will make a comeback with those changes, or is it just a bandage fix?
I'm not 100% convinced, especially like if your mate went Death Fire last Trinity Force, chance of you getting that build in your majority of your games are pretty slim. And considering
DFG's gone after,
it's going to be hard to get that build when the item doesn't exist anymore. You may as well go like fucking DFG, Force of Nature, Heart of Gold, Philosopher's Stone, that kind of
execution.
You can always dream,
but the dream item build. But I'm not 100% sold on her. I'm not convinced because really, in my opinion, the biggest change, like they gave us a mana regen, which is actually kind of nice considering she has to spam abilities to clear and not get destroyed by the jungle and spam to kill people as well. Yeah, but I think the biggest change is the on hit on her E's. Doesn't her E like
it was just a tooltip change?
Twice? Was it really just a tooltip change?
It was a tooltip change. It's been doing it for a while.
Yeah, E applies on hit effects.
I thought it applied on hit effects. And I thought I was going crazy.
Trust me, I read it too. No, it's just the tooltip change to clarify that it does add on hit.
The mana stuff is a great quality of life thing, but I mean, I still don't think that champion's in a great place compared to where she's been in the past.
I don't think so either, and I think that she always struggled clearing even in the old jungle, and now she's just like, holy moly, it's really hard for her to get through with any decent, and she will have, like, she's a champion in my opinion who has to go range Trailblazer if she wants to be competitive coming into that mid game, or she's just gonna fall behind from the jungle itself, and she needs a stalker. Like, she's a champion.
Anyway.
It used to. I'm not sure if it does anymore. I don't actually. I've got it open in my. Don't ask me why, but I've got the exact item tooltip open in my client right now. It says Evelyn slashes her target twice, dealing damage with each hit. She then gains attack speed for a short duration, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't slow anymore. Like I've got a feeling that got removed quite a while.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, it's I'm just not convinced really. Like, and if like on hit stuff as well. The only way she's going to make use out of that, like that stuff's being removed too. Like if you went Elder Lizard, and you had two on, like, because Ravage strikes the target twice, right? So you get two insta procs with an on hit. Elder Lizard was really the only solid jungle item you could do, which would do that. And that doesn't even exist anymore. Like, you don't even have any jungle on hit, right?
So
So
skirmishers, I guess. Well,
Well, even still,
Yeah.
with the changes to skirmishers,
what
it would be even less effective than it was when skirmishers originally came out.
right.
exactly, and yeah, she has 0 CC apart from her ulti, so she would need a. She would like. Yeah, I can't think of another champion who would really, really need that Stalker's Blade than Evelyn. But I also
Right.
can't think of a champion who would really, really need that Ranger's Trailblazer apart from Evelyn. So it's not like you can go Rangers early and then swap out Stalkers, because when you need the Rangers is when you need the Stalkers as well. So it's it's not a great position for Eve, and yeah, I'm just no, I don't like her, and I don't think she'll be making too much of a comeback personally. But at the same time, stealth champions in the jungle are always a bit oddballs, and they can still yield some decent results just because they force you to play. I used to hate playing versus them when she was strong, because it forces you to play a whole different play style. You cannot play versus Eve like you would play every other jungler, because you can't see her. So it's all on the jungler as well. You can play against. Here's a tip for playing versus Eve. Firstly, ward their actual jungle camps, not their jungle roots, and so you can see when they find them. And secondly, if you're the jungler, invade her, try to beat the crap out of her, because she's weak.
She can't fight you early.
No, she can't. She's going to be on like 10% health the whole time anyway. So just run around the jungle, just like, sneezing and stuff, and you'll probably pick up a kill if you're playing versus Eve.
Well, I'm going to start wrapping up the show at this point. Anything you want to say, Fox? You want to tell people what time you stream, where to find you on YouTube, pimp yourself out.
Well, firstly, of course, I want to say thanks for having me on the show. It was nice being here. Nice talking about the old jangle.
You're welcome, man. You're welcome anytime.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess I don't have a strict Twitch streaming schedule, but I try to stream a few times a week. My Twitch page is twitch.com/Foxdrop, not Foxdrop, just Foxdrop. And yeah, I try to teach the game a little bit, try to have some fun. Catch me on my YouTube as well, which is Foxdrop LOL, not Foxdrop. Facebook and Twitter are also Foxdrop LOL too. Yeah, apart from that, just check me out if you want to learn how to be a better League player, if you want to learn how to be a better jungler specifically. And yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say apart from thank you guys again. It was fun. Yeah, I think we're all
cool.
I think I'm all good here.
Yeah, no, it's what, 1 a.m. for you, 2 a.m., something like that.
Just gone 2:11 here.
This guy needs to go find his pillow and lay his head down.
Yeah, I'm looking at my dog's lying on my bed and he's just completely out of it. I'm looking at him like, you bastard. He knows. He knows I'm tired. He's just lying there like.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks so much, Foxdrop.
we
Thank
definitely
you for
appreciate
everybody listening to the TForce podcast. Again, this is episode 227. Please check us out. If you are checking us out the first time, we do talk quite a bit about theory, and we just did a patch 5.1 rundown. If you are not new to the show and you're not listening this first time, please go check us out on Saturday at twitch.tv/TForce podcast at 8 p.m. Eastern time, because this belt is up for grabs between Lola podcast and the Trinity Force podcast. Yeah, the WWE belt. But yeah, we're playing them in the best of 3. Oh yeah, right. MME, whatever. Guys, that's it. That's episode 227. We will see you on Wednesday for episode 228. Peace.
Bye, guys.